Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Explore the East Coast. We've jumped north of the border today and are in Scotland, starting here at Prestonpans with Biscay. 3 stations today: Prestonpans, Drem and Longniddry. Probably pronouncing them wrong, sorry Scotland. But yeah, so firstly, welcome to Flights and Times. So, as I said, starting here at Prestonpans today. This station, along with all of those on the North Berwick route, receives an hourly service between Edinburgh and North Berwick. All of those are on the East Coast Mainline, with the exception of the terminus at North Berwick, which is on a branch line. But yeah, so I'm going to be seeing a lot of this line today, served by a mix of Class 385s and 380s. ScotRail's fairly new electric fleet. But yeah, whilst there's only an hourly service, this is 2-track part of the East Coast Mainline, so plenty of fast trains coming through to and from England, LNER, Lumo, TPE and cross country, all doing the cross-border route, and then obviously the ScotRail services to and from North Berwick. So I've got a couple of hours here in Prestonpans, so I'm going to go and see what there is to do. So behind me is the Firth of Forth, on which Prestonpans is located. The town was developed in the 12th century when a group of monks from a nearby abbey came here to pan for salt, hence the name Prestonpans. The Preston part of the town name has developed from Priest Town, again named after the monks, so Priest Town for salt panning essentially. Other industries grew up around the town. It was famous for brewing at one point, along with fishing from a local harbour. However, unfortunately all of those industries have now demised, and this town is very much a commuter town for Edinburgh. About 10,000 people live here. It's 15 minutes train ride from a station into Waverley Station, so very quick to get to the centre of Edinburgh, and it's only about a 10-minute walk from the station into the centre of town here. So yeah, this is the seafront. It's a bit chilly, end of February now, so yeah, not time to be coming to the seaside, but nonetheless I'm sure it's very nice in the summer. And just over the other side of the Firth, I just about can see Leven, where the new Leven rail link is going to be connecting the Scottish Rail network to. So yeah, going to see a bit more about what there is to do in Prestonpans. So in front of me is the Preston Tower, one of Prestonpans' most famous buildings. First constructed in the 14th century and further developed in the 17th century. It's been burnt down at least twice during its history. Originally accessed via a wooden staircase on the side of the building. The current restoration is going to reinstall a staircase to allow access to the Great Hall, as well as saving the building for generations to come. It's currently owned by the National Trust for Scotland and looked after by East Lothian Council. So yeah, hopefully when the restoration has been completed, using traditional methods, it will be once again an iconic part of the Prestonpans landscape. This is the Preston Market Cross, which when it was constructed was in the centre of Prestonpans, and the market filled the site around it. Interestingly, there is a small door around the other side, providing access to a small room on the inside of the cross, which was acted as the town jail. So yeah, a little bit of interesting history. There is an information board, which that is the only information I can find anywhere about this. But yes, the Preston Market Cross. So I'm now back at Prestonpans station. I've got about half an hour till the next train to continue this exploring the East Coast. But I forgot to tell you about one thing you can do in the town if you visit the weekend. So in addition to the George Tower and George Cross and exploring the town centre, there's also the Battle of Prestonpans Museum, part of the town hall. The museum is open weekends 11 till 4. I think it's free to enter, although I couldn't really tell looking at the website. Battle of Prestonpans was a decisive battle in the Second Jacobite Uprising. The Jacobite army, led by Charles Stuart, also known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, defeated the army loyal to King George II. So yeah, decisive battle early on in the Second Jacobite Uprising, and was a massive moral boost to the Stuart army. But yeah, now I've got a little bit of a time to wait here until the next train, which is going to take me to the next stop on this Exploring the East Coast, Drem.
Platform 1 is the 11:55 service to North Ferry. This train is bound on North.
Drem, the most southern station on the North Berwick route that's not on the branch, if that makes sense. So yeah, down there hopefully you can see the junction where the North Berwick branch leaves the East Coast Mainline, or joins the East Coast Mainline. But yeah, I've just jumped off train that's continued to North Berwick, and it's going to terminate there, come back, and I'll get back to Longniddry, the next stop. So yeah, there's not much at Drem. It's a small, I think it's a village rather than a town. So yeah, nothing really of note here when I've looked into it. I think we're about to be video bombed by an express. But yeah, so Drem, nothing much here. Thing of note though, a mile or so that way, a couple of miles, is East Lothian, and there is the Museum of Flight there, home to one of the remaining Concords, and there is a bus from just outside the station here that will take you over to, not East Lothian, East Fortune, the Museum of Flight there. The buses are about every 90 minutes to 2 hours. It's a bit of a weird timetable across country. Yeah, a bit of a weird timetable for the buses to the Museum of Flight. But yeah, that's kind of it. So yeah, wait for the train and then we'll go to Longniddry. So there's actually one more thing close to Drem that I forgot about a mile in that direction. So North Berwick's that way. About a mile in that direction is Chester's Hill Fort, an Iron Age hill fort, essentially run by Historic Scotland. So yeah, but it's about a mile, so it would have been 20+ minute walk there and back. So unfortunately not got time to visit it today, and it is starting to be a bit miserable. But yeah, certainly I'll put a link to that in the description, so you can have a bit more of an investigation to that. But yeah, this is Drem. So, final station of the day, Longniddry. I said I was going to say it wrong earlier, and I have been. I've been calling it Longniddry. I apologise, it's Longniddry, or something similar to that. That's at least closer than what I was getting earlier. We'll wait for this Zoomer to go past. But yeah, so Longniddry, as with the other stations, hourly service on the North Berwick route to and from Edinburgh Waverley. Used to be a junction station, and you can see just about through the trees there's like some embankment, etc. There used to be a branch line off of here, which we're going to explore a little bit more in a minute, as it's now a footpath. But yeah, so it used to be a junction station. Now just the East Coast Mainline passing through here, with an hourly stopping service between Waverley and North Berwick. So, as mentioned, Longniddry used to be a junction station. It was originally constructed by the North British Railway and had the main line along with a branch to Haddington. That branch to Haddington closed in 1968, late 1968. So, and yeah, part of multitude of closures at that point. I'm not going to say the dreaded B word. One thing that's noticeable from walking along this trail is that the branch line used to be dual track. So you've got the East Coast Main Line there, still dual track. The trail runs along the single line as it was when it closed. And then you've also got all this space before the bridge parapets, showing that once there was 4 lines of railway along here up until where it curved away. The actual junction connecting the branch to the main line was to the north/west of the station, Edinburgh end of the platforms. But yeah, looks like quite a nice trail. I'm not going to go too much further and head back to the station. So I'm now back at the station. I'm not going to have a wander into the town because again, the weather is looking changeable, so I have a feeling I might want to go and hide in the shelter in a minute. But Longniddry is another one of the tourist coastal towns on the south side of the Firth of Forth. There's a golf course, beaches. Again, in the summer I'm sure it's very nice, but there's nothing really notable in the town. So yeah, one thing of note, Pierce Brosnan lived here a little while. That's one of the things I found out. But yeah, not much here. I think of the 3 stations on this stretch of line, if you were going to visit any of them, it'd be Prestonpans, with the tower, the museum, and the town itself. Obviously Drem, you've got access to the Museum of Flight at East Fortune, and the Iron Age Hill Fort, so Drem probably visit if you're visiting them by public transport or for a walk. Here again there's a nice walk to Haddington, but then you're kind of there, either it's a walk back or a bus. So yeah, this bit of the East Coast Main Line, worth of it, might be worth a day out, but I don't think any of them are possibly worth a full day's visiting. But yeah, so I think that's it for this episode of Exploring the East Coast. I think I've calculated we've got 4 more episodes to make after this one. A few stations in England, a few in Scotland, and yeah, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.